everyone, this is Professor Benjamin, and this video is going to give you a walkthrough of the part 3 of your project that will be due. And so this part of your project is actually trying to write a narrative for your recommendations that you're going to give to law enforcement officers. So remember, and I went through this with a lot of you in part 2 of your assignment, and you may have heard me say that there's no common theme to your tables and the questions that you're asking, right? And if there's no common theme, then you're not going to be able to give coherent recommendations to law enforcement officers. And what do I mean by this? So, for example, some of you may have said, okay, well, here's the percentage of race. More males than females kill. And then maybe in the next one, it was more white people kill than black people. Okay? And then your tables were jurisdictions. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then your second table was, let's just say, types of crime. And it gave the number and the percentage. All of that does not tie together, meaning you are not giving separate feedback for each table you gave to law enforcement. It's all supposed to be one coherent message to law enforcement. What do I mean by that? I mean, for example, you would show a table of the races that commit crimes, okay, or the races that are killed. Let's just say that, okay? So table 1 would be the races in which people are killed, and you would give the number and the percentage. Then the next one would be the crimes that the individual was committing when they were killed. So in the next table, it would be the crimes, and then it would be the number of crimes, and then it would be the percentage of crimes in those specific categories in which someone was killed. Your last table would bring those two tables together using such things such as countifs, meaning you would look at race and the crime that in which they were killed, and you would find the number of crimes where someone was killed. Let's say someone was attempting robbery. How many black people are killed committing robberies? How many white people are killed committing robberies? How many Hispanic individuals are killed committing robberies, right? And then, of course, the percentages. Because this is a common theme. Do you see how my table 1 is related to race? My second table is related to the crimes. My third table merges the two ideas together into one last table. So this way you can open up and say, my project is on race and when people are killed. Okay, and then you go on to say what the data is and all that, and you go on to show table 1 with pie graphs and charts, table 2 with pie graphs, charts, table 3 with pie graphs, charts. Then you go on to say, well, all of this data, like the questions that I'm trying to answer are, how many individuals, what type of race is killed the most in committing what type of crime? And you go through, and then you give law enforcement kind of recommendations based on that. Well, it appears that most white people, from the data, 86% of white people are killed committing robberies. Okay? And so what law enforcement could do with that is say, oh, wow, okay, so it looks like a lot of white individuals are killed committing robberies. So we need to figure out ways that when we show up, or maybe ways to deter robberies in a specific neighborhood. So if more white people are committing robberies, then maybe what's the reason for that? Why are most white people committing robberies? And you have to do some research to find that out. Well, it could be, of course, the demographics of the area. Maybe more white people live in that area. So, of course, more white people are going to be committing the robberies, right? The other thing is maybe individuals in that area that are white are poorer, so they commit more robberies to be able to feed their families. I don't know, right? So these are the advice, but then you have to have factual basis to tie that together, as that's what your theme is. Now, I know this is like an outlandish type of theme or whatever, but it is something that I would like to see, a more coherent, cohesive PowerPoint presentation. Instead of all this disjuncted well, I'm just going to answer a question about someone in Texas, and then the next question I'm going to answer somebody in Arizona, and then I'm going to somehow give recommendations based on that. Well, no, it's got to be a coherent kind of project. So this part of your project is important, because in this part of your project, you're going to be writing a one-page document. I know this sounds like a lot, but a one-page document based upon your 3 tables that you're going to do. So the 3 questions that you have, which is maybe what's the most people killed, right? Or what's the highest, the highest race amounts that are killed. Then the next table is the types of crimes that are being committed where people are killed, right? And then the third table combines the 2 together. So 1/3 of your paper is going to be based upon table 1 and what results you found in table 1 based upon your data. 1/3 of the paper is going to be on table 2, given reasons and factual basis as to why the crimes that are committed where people are killed the most is robbery, or why crimes. And then your last paragraph, or 1/3 of your paper, is going to combine all of those thoughts into one reasoning why. And you can see here, so I need 1 full page, single spaced. I know it sounds like a lot, but eventually, remember, these 1/3 of your paper are going to go into your final PowerPoint presentation. So you're doing the work ahead of time, okay? And this is why it was so hard on a lot of you in part 2 of your paper, because I wanted to make sure those 3 tables were really sound so that you could then complete part 3 of your paper. Okay, so you are going to, I give all the specifics, like what I want: 1-page document, 12 times Roman, single space with sources, make sure you have paragraphs, okay? And then, for example, here it is. Like, let's just say you're doing your data on background transfers, okay? Describe background checks for firearm transfers conducted and applications received, denied annually. This is my description of the data. And we went through this in step 1 of your paper. Remember, a lot of you, I had you revise it because you didn't include like what variables are discussed. So you want to include your data, a copy of your data, meaning a link to your data. You want to make sure you have a description of your data. Then I would have, you can see here you go, fill in the blanks with your information and add more detail, meaning this would be kind of a paragraph. Here's the question I'm trying to answer. What age range commit violent crimes? And then below it, I would have my table. Now, you're not going to include your table in this, okay? And then you're going to write your paragraph as to why it is that, okay? So why it is what it is. Why is the data saying what it is? So, for example, as per the National Crime Database, violent crimes are committed by, and I would take the data from my table that I had in part 2. From this data, we can decipher that X, Y, and Z, that it looks as if more crimes are committed by individuals between the ages of 18 and 24. Okay? In order to reduce the number in this age range, it looks as if we need to figure out what individuals between the ages of 18 and 24 are doing in their free time. Maybe they are the most unemployed in your specific state. Maybe they are the individuals that don't have college degrees, or maybe they're the individuals that just can't seem to find work, or they're the ones that are laid off the most. You have to find statistical reasons why you're saying what you're saying, okay? And then you have the examples on what you think law enforcement could do to deter individuals between the ages of 18 and 24 from committing more crimes. Okay, so this is what your course project is. So actually, as I'm going through this, I am going to have you include your table, your 3 tables with your data analyzed in this. So I'm going to actually add a second document. So directions for your homework. So here's what I'm going to have. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to include in here your 3 tables that you had from part 2. I want you to include those. So that way you have the table, and underneath of it you have the paragraph that explains what's going on with your table. And then this way you will be able to have the data right there, and I can look at the data and then say whether your explanation needs more detail or not, okay? So I'm hoping that this video helps you out a little. I'm going to include an example of what I want in the module so that you have a better idea of what I'm looking for in terms of what your submittal should look like, okay? All right, so look out for that under Course Project 3, the walkthrough, as well as the example of what I would like uploaded. Okay, have a fantastic week. And of course, as always, if you have questions, feel free to reach out.